Hi, my name's Alison, and usually I do a blog post, but today I thought I'd do something different and actually talk to you and answer some of the questions that I have received on property snagging. So one of the first questions is, what is snagging and why do I need to do a snag list for my builder? The term snagging originally came from the UK, and in the USA you might be familiar with the term punch list, which is the equivalent. It's quite a strange terminology, but what it is, it's a process. It describes a process of finding any faults or problems with a new build property. These problems are usually of a minor nature and you'll find them before you move in. So these tend to be things like a scratch on a work surface, or maybe some cupboard doors in the kitchen need to be adjusted, or perhaps the patio door lock isn't engaging fully. So all of a minor nature. So what you do is record all of these items before you took ownership of the property, whether you're moving in or whether it's a property that you're managing on behalf of somebody else. You'd make a record of them, and this is called your snagging list. So basically it's a list of items, minor faults or problems that are found with the new build property. So the second question is, why do I need to do a snagging list? Why isn't the builder picking this up? The builder will be inspecting the works at every single stage and signing those off before they reach you. If you're working on a property every day, you may miss something. Also, your property is handmade. So there's multiple trades working in that property at any one time, and there's wet trades coming in doing plastering works, there's also dry trades coming in. So with so many people coming in, there's always going to be something left over at the construction. It's inevitable that you're going to pick everything up. So when should you do the snagging? When's the best time? Well, your builder will usually notify you 2 to 3 weeks prior to completion in the UAE, and you'll be required to come to do the snagging before you move in. Now, usually you would be provided with a 1 or 2 hour slot for snagging, and this will enable you to come around and do an inspection of the property. Now, in my experience, this time isn't enough time. 1 hour isn't enough time usually to inspect a property fully. So it can take, on average, let's say for a 3-bedroom house, anywhere between 1 and 4 hours. And this depends on the quality of the finishes of the house. I mean, if it's good quality, then perhaps an hour will be sufficient. But usually you would need a lot longer to actually undertake that inspection. Now, a snagging list is, as I said previously, is of a cosmetic nature. So it's usually some minor items. But sometimes, unfortunately, there are some more serious items that are found, and these are classed as defects. So these could be things like leaks in the property, or maybe there's a workmanship issue, or something's not functioning correctly or hasn't been installed correctly. And some of these things are not clearly identified at handover stage because they're concealed within walls or ceilings. So it might be at a later date when you're actually using the property that these things come to surface. So these are treated in the same way as on a snagging list. If you do identify these at the handover stage, then they also need to be recorded on the list and issued to the builder. Now, one important thing to remember is when you're a property owner and you're not used to construction, some of these items may seem quite frightening to you, and they may seem like they're a very big issue to resolve. But in actual fact, most of these items that are picked up are of a minor nature to a contractor. They may not seem minor to you, but to a contractor that they can actually close those out quite easily. So what we recommend, you can either do this snag list yourself, or you can engage in a third-party snagging company to actually do this report for you. Now, the good thing about having a third party is if you haven't got any experience in the construction industry, then a third party, they will come in, they will be experienced, they will know the finishes, they will know the tolerances, So in building the certain tolerance levels that you need to work within, certain parameters, let's say. And they will understand how the construction of your property was made. So this enables them to clearly identify any snags or defects that they may find very quickly. Whereas if you're not in construction, you may not be familiar with what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and things that you may feel are acceptable may not be acceptable, and other things you may miss because you just don't know that they're actually a problem. So we do recommend that you do, if you can, engage in a third party to help you. So questions come in, can I do the property snagging myself if I'm not in construction? As I said before, it's a very good idea to get a third party in to actually help you do the snagging list, but you can obviously do the snagging list yourself. So here are our top tips for snagging if you're going to do the report yourself. So the first tip is to always make sure that when you're doing an inspection that you inspect it in natural daylight. Also remember to stand at least 1 metre away from the wall. So that when you do your inspection, don't go right up to the wall and inspect it in minute detail and try and find the imperfections in the wall. You need to stand 1 metre away and view the wall in its entirety. It's also a good idea to stand sideways and view the wall, because you can see if there's been any touch-ups done on any of the wall surfaces. So sometimes this might be evident, you might see blocks of colour, and this is where it's been touched up at different stages of the process, which obviously doesn't look very nice in your finished home. So each time you identify an item, then you need to record it onto your snagging list. Now, it's the best way to do the snagging list and to approach it if you are doing it yourself is to do it in a systematic way. So you're going to do room by room, area by area. So you perhaps go into one room, you'll look at the floor, you'll look at the ceiling, the walls, and any fixtures and fittings that are in that room. And clearly write a description of exactly what you've found. So your terminology is really important. And actually this is where a third party company is really beneficial, because they're familiar with the construction terms and they can get the message across to your builder very, very easily on what needs to be done to close out those items. So when you've finished your list, make sure that you sign it and you put the date of it in. The date's very important so that all parties know before you move in that was the date that you recorded the snags on, and once you move in, if they haven't been rectified before you move in, then you will know that they were actually recorded before the handover. So another question is, are snags covered by my warranty? Now, the defect liability period is where your builder is responsible for a 1-year period in most cases to rectify any latent defects. So these could be any problems that are associated with the property. So they could be structural, or they could be mechanical, electrical, plumbing issues, or faults with the system. So any of these things that are picked up after you move in are covered by your defect liability period. And in addition, you'll be giving some warranties for all your appliances. So your warranties will probably be 1 or 2 years. Again, please check with your individual builder. But these will be covered, so if there's a breakdown of the appliance or there's a blockage in the system somewhere, then these will also be covered for that period of time. Now, will snags be covered? It is unlikely that any snags will be covered when you move in. So the idea is to generate the snag list before you move in to identify any of these minor faults or imperfections. To move in, it will be very, very difficult to ascertain who actually created that damage. This is why it's really, really important that if you are invited to do a snagging list before you move in, that you actually take this opportunity to do it. This video has been helpful and has answered questions about the snagging process. If you have any other questions that you need answering, please put your comments down below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And I'd like to thank you for watching. If you like this video, please share it and give us a like. And until next time, thanks a lot.